Hello to all. Welcome to Books and Us, the podcast about learning about new ideas and getting inspiration from books. I'm Ranjit Monga, and as you know, every week I take up books in the non-fiction category, from which we can get a wealth of knowledge and information. The interviews conducted on this podcast are also available on the news website www.globalbihari.com. So if you want to read about them, just go to the website and search under my name or the column, which is called Literary Speaking.
The concept of zero waste involves just minimizing the amount of waste that you're generating. So that basically you're trying to reduce your waste to as close as possible to zero. So nothing gets sent to the landfills or the incinerators or the ocean. The urgency of achieving this really stems from, of course, the environmental crisis, and it's caused by excessive water, excessive pollution, lots of habitat destruction, and of course, climate change.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to episode 9 of the podcast Books and Us. Today, we are going to talk about a subject which not only impacts us, but our whole planet as well. That is the problem of garbage, waste, and trash, which we produce on a daily basis and which takes years to degrade. To talk to us about it is Sahar Mansoor, author of the book Bare Necessities: How to Live a Zero Waste Life. Bare Necessities is also the name of the business she founded to give people products which do not produce any waste. Sahar, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, thank you. I must mention here that Sahar's venture and her efforts have brought her a lot of recognition both in the country and abroad. She is the recipient of the Red Club X Young Leader Award instituted by Cartier, the accessories company. She studied in the US and did her master's from Cambridge University. While working for the World Health Organization, she saw for herself how garbage is segregated and actually the amount that collects all over our cities. And having been sensitive to this issue ever since she was 19, she decided to do something about it. And her learnings since then are all contained in a book which can help people to live a zero waste life. She is based in Bangalore. So Seher, I want to start by asking you that I read also in at your website that most of the trash that we have produced in a lifetime is still out there. Is that true?
Yeah, definitely. Well, basically, when we say something's get thrown away, where does away actually even mean, right?
Mhm.
And every plastic toothbrush, water bottle that you and I and the collective world has ever used just sitting here somewhere on this planet, because also plastic never degrades. It just
Mm.
breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces of plastic called microplastic. And then, of
Mm.
course, land up in the food chain, land up in the water that you're drinking, and whatnot. And it's essentially research suggests that we consume a credit card size worth of plastic each week.
So, can you please take us through what we can expect from the book?
So the book is essentially a comprehensive guide that tries to spread awareness or educate readers about adopting a low waste lifestyle. It provides lots of practical tips, sustainable alternatives, mindful practices to reduce your waste in various aspects from the minute you wake up to the minute you sleep. So we've got personal care, home care, office, community setting, and it just seeks to inspire readers to try and make some sustainable changes in their own lifestyle, and it will not only benefit them, but it'll also benefit the planet in the long run.
And what's interesting about the book is that it's also got elements of a workbook, and so that readers can assess their own life and their lifestyle and see what sort of products they are using. So, can you elaborate on the exercises?
So honestly, the exercises in the book are super, super interactive, and they're just designed in a way that engages readers very, very actively. So that it might include, self-assessment quizzes, goal-setting exercises, DIY projects that you can try at home, and also some reflection prompts about, what is happening in your sustainability journey. And essentially, all of these exercises are just there to help readers apply the knowledge that they're gaining, processing, but also encouraging everyone to take a very practical and very actionable step to try and incorporate it into their daily lives.
So, can you give an example for example, like you start off with the personal care products, right?
Yeah. So we've got some DIYs where you can make your own toothpaste with ingredients that you can just find in your own kitchen. We've got basically some activities where you can write where did you start from, and what do you observe in maybe your personal care routine that is traditionally packaged in plastic, and maybe what are what is something that you want to say bye bye to and switch it up for a more sustainable option. It's basically also got a lot of resources, like think of a recipe book, but for zero waste living. There are so many books around, whether it's health and wellness or how to get started on meditation or cooking, etc. But there isn't a manual or a book, that a guide that takes you through how you can live more sustainably. And since we're currently living in, the largest global garbage crisis of our lifetime, I think it's a very pertinent and very, very important subject that all of us can try and get started. And while it sounds very complicated and scary, this book tries to make it very easy and very actionable. So if you have some old shoes, and you finish repairing it with the cobbler a couple of times and all of that, now what do you do with it? So it also gives a shout out to lots of local organizations and companies in India that are doing some amazing work that you can look at in terms of the rest of the supply chain or the rest of the value chain, for all of your necessities.
And actually, inspired by your book, I have started a sustainably swap club within my extended family. So
Amazing.
yeah. And you mentioned that in your book that we should start swapping, and that there are some enterprises who allow you to swap or buy secondhand, and we shouldn't be ashamed of that. So what we do is, we on a WhatsApp group, we just put something which we require or something which we want to sort of give away, and then if anybody in the family wants, they can we can exchange or reach out to each other like that.
That's really, really cool. And that's amazing. And I think, we used to do it so kind of seamlessly growing up. I have two older sisters. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
always had their hand-me-downs, and then
Mm.
suddenly it became this whole web of urbanization and mass production and mass consumption, and then we just kind of forgot to do those little things that actually help save money and that are just more sustainable as well. So yeah, I think sustainability, especially in the swapping realm, has just made this big comeback. It's now cool to do as well, and it's so easy to do. You can do it with your family, you can do it in your apartment, you can do it at work. There's really, the sky is the limit.
So what exactly is sustainability? I know it sounds like a very technical word, and many people may be scared of understanding what it means.
So essentially, sustainability, from the more traditional definition, just says that how do you consume or meet the need of today and the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs, right? And it basically encompasses various areas such as the environmental conservation, social justice, economic stability, and of course ethical practices. So in the context of this book, Bare Necessities: How to Lead a Zero Waste Life, sustainability really is relating to the aspect of how you can reduce your waste and thereby conserve resources, and how you can just promote a more eco-friendly lifestyle by virtue of daily products that you use, and just try and foster a sense of harmony between us humans and of course this gorgeous planet Earth that we all live on.
Yeah, so zero waste life means that you go through daily life without producing any trash, without leaving anything behind. Isn't that so? And is that possible?
The concept of zero waste, yeah, like you rightly said, involves just minimizing the amount of waste that you're generating. So that basically you're trying to reduce your waste to as close as possible to zero. So nothing gets sent to the landfills or the incinerators or the ocean. And I mean, it's impossible to live, completely zero
Mm.
waste. But this, like anything else, this book is an aspirational book, right? If you
Mm.
shoot for the moon, maybe you'll hit the stars, and that's kind of
Yeah.
the idea, right? You have to have some goals, and of course, we're going to fall short. And the way our economies and our lives are structured, living completely zero waste is impossible. There are always going to be impacts of what we live, but the idea is to strive for how much we can try and reduce our waste. And the urgency of achieving this really stems from, of course, the environmental crisis, and it's caused by excessive water, excessive pollution, lots of habitat destruction, and of course climate change. So adopting a zero waste lifestyle is just a very actionable step for us to try and reduce our ecological footprint and preserve the planet for the future generations.
And how does our footprint actually directly impact pollution on Earth?
Well, lots of ways. So the every product from minute you wake up to the minute you sleep, like your toothbrush or toothpaste, and it has all of these little, small little dots that you see on it, and people say it's a great exfoliant for your teeth, etc.
Yeah,
Those
but
are
those
actually
are
just
made of plastics.
that's just microplastic. So, the amount of products that have
Mm,
microplastics or even clothing that are synthetic, it
mm,
basically every time you do a laundry load, there are microplastics going into the water.
oh,
And where does the water go? Lands up again into whether it's the groundwater or it will land up in. Essentially, it's a cycle of life, right? It
mm,
has to go somewhere, and it lands up, of course, being somewhere in our ecosystem. And then imagine that you might be growing food in the same kind of groundwater or the same soil in which you've then used the water that has microplastics in it.
mm,
And that's why we are finding microplastics in breast milk, in blood,
mm,
even in kids now,
mm,
newborn kids
mm,
have found to have microplastics. So the rate at which we're currently consuming is very, very unsustainable. And unfortunately, microplastics is something that is not visible to a naked eye. So
mhm.
sometimes it's hard for you to visualize what your impact actually is and kind of what it's doing. But as you can see, there are tons of diseases that didn't exist a few generations ago, and now it's extremely widespread. And that's largely because of our lifestyle, our dependency on plastic, and combination of other factors. I don't want to just reduce it to one, but I'm just saying that this adds a level of complexity, and you're actually then spending also so much money on our healthcare systems.
Yeah.
And it's all very, very interconnected.
Like you mentioned, plastics. I feel that plastics, if we can reduce plastics, the usage of plastic, we can reduce the footprint a lot. What can one do on a daily basis? Because, online shopping, you go to the supermarket,
Yeah.
you have something to drink, you pick up a cup of coffee, everything is plastic. How can we reduce that?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And it honestly just starts with you, right? You can only have control over your own personal actions.
Mm,
So, I would say, first of all, start seeing how you can reduce your own footprint on your own personal life.
mm,
And don't obviously bog yourself about doing everything all at once,
mm,
but try and see how you can reduce your plastic usage using a reusable bag.
mm.
For example, right? Just keep
Yes.
one in your car, keep one in your bag.
Mm,
So it's always accessible, and you can just say no to a single-use plastic to get your groceries or anything else. Use that stainless steel straw to have your nadal pani, or
mm,
don't use a straw at all.
mm,
Carry your own reusable containers to the grocery stores,
mm,
or your local bakery or local kirana shop.
mm,
So also support local businesses that are trying to use more sustainable packaging or advocating for plastic bans,
mm,
and also just recycling properly, because obviously we can't all be perfect all the time. But when we
mm,
do get products that maybe have the plastic footprint, can we rinse it out? Can we dry it? Can we put it into the recycle? And can we be
mm,
segregating our waste more responsibly?
mm.
um, and I think that all of those actions collectively really help us reduce our plastic footprint.
Yeah, and I also like the suggestion that we should carry our own tiffin whenever we go out, say on a flight or somewhere,
Absolutely.
so that if we don't, even if we are not carrying our own food, at least our own container, in which we can receive the food, or in which we can which we can use instead of a plastic one.
Exactly. That's a permanent fixture in my bag. My water bottle, my little cutlery, a napkin, so I don't use tissues,
Mm,
and a box. So the box also, I really like it because it's very space efficient. It's,
mm,
I have a silicone one that's collapsible. I have something in it, it's nice and big, and once it's done, I can just
mm,
collapse it, and it's
mm.
very, very space efficient as well.
Is individual action enough? Because the current scenario of climate change, the consequences of climate change we are seeing, they're so frightening, because all over the world there are these either typhoons or excessive rain or excessive temperatures, the coldest day and the hottest day, and there's flooding everywhere.
Definitely. I mean, I totally, totally feel you. And
Mm, mm,
I think individual action is a very tangible way of knowing that you are part of the solution,
mm,
and is essential. But of course, it cannot be it's not going to suffice alone, right? We
Mm.
need a lot of collective action, which means we need policy change from the top. We
Yes.
need more meaningful corporate responsibility on how we're producing things, consuming things, etc.
Mm.
And also we need, just more global cooperation
Mm.
on the importance of, combating climate change very, very effectively.
Mm.
And I think the individuals can also inspire the system, because if we are creating a demand for
Mm.
better products or cleaner air, clean water, etc., then we will force the institutions around us to also change, and that could be companies, it could be policy, it could be government, to help make that change possible as well. So I think we have to advocate on a very large scale for environmental initiatives, and that will also really help change the ecosystem.
Yeah, and we saw in that every individual doing a collective action, for example, during the COVID. No,
Absolutely.
I mean, the air became so clear. One could see the mountains from cities in Punjab, and the rivers started rejuvenating. No, the,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, in our own lifetime,
Mm.
we've heard more birds in our own backyard, or, wherever we were. Our
Yeah.
visibility, the Himalayas were, like you said, visible
Mm.
after 30 odd years,
Yeah.
um, from hundreds of kilometers away.
Yeah.
So we've definitely seen the impact that our actions actually have. So I think
Mm.
that is a great testimony to
Mm.
why individual actions matter. And, every drop makes the ocean. So
Mm.
we have to kind of be part of the solution.
Now, can you tell me about your venture, Bare Necessities? Because I know you are doing a lot of landmark work in that, and that's an outcome of this effort, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, personally, I've been trying to live a low waste lifestyle for
Mm.
a long time now.
I believe in 2 or 3 years, you produced only one jar of trash. Is that true?
Yeah, my first 3 years, I was very, very, very strict, and I think people didn't really love being around me at that time, because I was very militant on myself almost. I
Uh,
was very strict. I would only shop from a certain shop for my groceries.
mm.
I was just very, very, very particular. And unfortunately, COVID did change a few things for me, because I obviously could not travel and go to my specific grocery store, and a couple of things that traditionally I would do. So I'm not nearly as perfect as I used to be, but also that helped me kind of realize that I can't always strive for perfection, and it was unsustainable on my mental health. Realize that I just had to be a little bit more kinder to myself and do whatever I can.
Mm.
So I think that was also a journey in itself. Um, but yeah, the first 3 years, if you ask any of my friends or mom, you'll know how kind of intense I was about low waste living. But now that's why also I called myself a low waster rather than a zero waster, in
Okay.
order to try and clear any misconceptions that I'm nearly that perfect.
Okay.
But yeah, you talked about the brand, and yeah, for sure,
Mm.
Bare Necessities was just, came up with the vision that we can make it fun, easy, and accessible to create awareness around sustainability. What does this even mean? I mean, we're all just
Mm.
stressed out. Oh my
Yeah.
God, carbon emission, global thing. And you just think like you have no say in the matter, and you can't do anything about all of these huge, important, crucial environmental issues, right? Because you just associate that, oh, it's the cops and the, policy has stuff and all of that. But this just made me think differently, that do have the power to be part of the solution. And I started to live a low waste lifestyle. And then slowly I said, you know what, I think maybe others might want to consume more mindfully. And
Mm.
that's how Bare Necessities was born, the brand.
Mm.
And we create, sustainable products like shampoo bars, conditioner bars, soap bars, waterless formats of products that are, you just have to add water from your own tap, and you get
Wow.
hand
Mm.
liquid, and you get dishwash liquid and surface cleaner, etc. So that was a kind of how the brand came to be.
Mm.
But from day one, I realized that we had to create awareness for the products. We had to create, awareness around sustainability.
Mm.
So, that commitment to awareness has always stayed from day one. And we did
Mm.
that through workshops, which were obviously more interactive.
Mm.
And I would have maybe 20 people in a room, 40 people in a room, and we would do really fun DIYs, etc. together. But in pandemic, I obviously had extra time where I am, you're not going out as much, and not a lot of
Mm.
social engagements. And that's when I actually penned down the book. And I
Mm.
said, you know what, if I put down everything I've learned in the past few years, and
Mhm.
honestly, everything I wish I knew when I got started, this maybe could be an asset to someone else in their low waste journey. And
Absolutely.
what
Yeah.
I speak to only 20 people at a time, I
Mm,
can, this book might have been in the hands of thousands of people,
mm,
if not more, in and have that same kind of multiplying impact. So kind
mm,
of that's how the book and the brand coexist, and
mm,
they obviously both have the same mission to
mm.
try and reduce our footprint and try and reduce our ecological footprint collectively on this planet.
So one can go on your website and choose the products and order them. So if somebody wants to say just order a toothbrush right now, would you deliver that, or you need a minimum order? Because for people who are new to this concept, they may want to just test out something in the beginning. Because I have in
Yeah.
my mind the list of products I want from your website already. So
Yeah, so we do sell all over India. So you can just go to our website and order. We right now don't have any minimum order
mm,
value.
mm,
We also do work with two organizations, which is Hasidurla and a Maruvan, which is an afforestation project of trees.
okay.
And one is supporting waste warriors in their formalization and whatnot. So basically it's a way that we are contributing by virtue of the footprint that we are spending on delivering
Mm,
it to people, right?
mm,
So that's kind of our solution to being an e-commerce company.
mm,
Um, but all of the packaging is completely plastic free,
mm,
paper tape, or no tape at all.
mm.
Cardboard boxes that are completely recyclable or even compostable if you just put them into
Okay.
smaller pieces.
Okay.
So we're trying to be very minimal and mindful
Mm,
of our impact. So
mm.
everything in our delivery is recyclable, compostable, or reusable.
And is it safe chemically? I mean, like you talked about
Absolutely.
shampoo bars and the powder which you can just add water and use as a dishwasher.
Yeah,
Or, yeah.
absolutely. So we
Okay.
use actually the EU regulations, and everything is non-polluting
Mm,
to our groundwater and is
mm.
safe for your skin, because the skin, of course, is the largest sense organ in our
Absolutely.
body.
Yeah.
And we have to be very cognizant of what we put in it and
Mm,
on it.
mm,
So we all of our ingredients celebrate, um, you know, actually India, we've got an
mm,
annatto soap, which is this gorgeous red clove. It's grown only in India and in Morocco. We've got
mm,
lavender that we source from Kashmir. I mean, it
mm,
is celebrates India in every form. We have a turmeric
mm,
soap.
mm,
And yeah, all of our surfactants as well that we use are all in safe limits.
mm,
Um, we use coconut derived surfactants, for example.
mm,
So everything is safe to use, even abiding EU regulations. And EU is like the regulator
mm,
of the world.
mm. You also talked about composting, and that it's a very important area for people to contribute to the carbon footprint. How can people on their level do composting?
Yeah, it's super, super easy to get started. All you need is a terracotta pot with some holes, ideally. If you don't, you can also get it from like Daily Dam. You can buy it online. There is probably a place that you can buy it just in your city. If not,
Mm,
you can even just take a old plastic bucket and
mm.
pop some holes in them.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I
Uh,
do. Yeah,
super, super easy to get
yeah.
started.
Uh,
And you essentially just need a brown layer, which is anything from dried leaves to shredded cardboard to
mm,
remix powder. And
mhm,
then you add, your wet waste from your kitchen, and that could be your banana
mm,
peels, cucumber peels, XYZ.
mm,
And then again, you top it up with a brown layer. It takes less than 30 seconds. We just have a little box near our sink. We
mm,
put all of the food waste, and then every now and then, right after every meal, try and just put into the compost. It literally takes less time than brushing your teeth in the morning.
mm,
And in a month or so, you'll have some amazing black gold, just great, fresh, amazing smelling compost and soil that's super, super
mm.
rich in nutrients that you can top up into your plants that you have in your balcony, in your house, or in the apartment complex that you live, or you can even sell it back to a couple of composting
Yeah.
companies if you don't have any space. So it is amazing, and you're reducing 60% of your waste by just composting every day.
So, one important question I want to ask you is that are you also advocating with the corporate side, the ones who produce all this material? Of course, they also can't avoid it, but are there efforts going on to reduce that? and find
Yeah,
alternate ways to pack material, for example. Or
yeah, definitely. So actually, we do a lot of talks, workshops, educational activities with CSR teams and sustainability teams and
okay, okay.
corporates in general, which is really fun to see how everyone is seeing how they can be part of the solution.
Mhm.
We also have actually 3 online courses around sustainability, which is
Really?
uh,
Okay.
UNESCO. Yeah, it's UNESCO recognized. It's a
Okay.
climate action resource as well. And essentially, one is on zero waste living on a very personal level. It's completely online.
Mhm.
And it is a great place to get started. So a lot of the corporates that we work with actually have embedded these courses into their own, internal communications or their own kind of company learning platforms. Some people have it like a requirement, like when you get employed, you have to take a couple of things on, HR and about posh policies and XYZ and even the sustainability course. And some people are using it as a way to make sure everyone on the organization is on the same page because you might have a product design team that's
Mhm.
designing products with recycled material and being really
Mhm.
sustainable. But you
Mhm.
also need the marketing and and sales teams to communicate that, whether that's externally or to the clients, about those aspects, and how to maybe redesign packaging to be more sustainable.
Mhm.
How can we deliver more sustainably? Okay, how can we increase more of an EV fleet for the last mile delivery?
Mhm.
What does the packaging look like? How can we use technology for more circularity? So we've
Mhm.
actually got a bunch of case studies, lots of experts in the course as well. That all of them are mostly Indian examples, Asian examples, so very very relevant in our context.
Mhm.
And we've worked with several corporations to basically embed these courses into their own systems, and it's doing really really well. And the reach is phenomenal because more people are getting excited about sustainability. So every day on
Yes.
LinkedIn, someone or the other is kind of also sharing about what they have learned and then now what they are seeking to do within their own organizations. And that's been honestly something that has been very, very gratifying to see that in action.
No, it's a wonderful opportunity for people to learn how can they become zero waste by doing a course, this online course, right? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So just to wrap up, can you sort of encapsulate the important steps people would need to reduce waste in their lives?
Well, one is awareness. Educate yourself about the impacts, which you're doing
Mm.
by just listening to this episode.
Mhm.
Try and reduce your own impact. You can minimize your consumption. You can opt for
Mm.
fewer things but high quality. You can also try and avoid single-use plastic items in your life.
Mm.
You can reuse as much as possible. Think about how you can reuse a water bottle hundreds of times,
Mm.
thousands, millions of times.
Mm.
But also, so just reusing things, and then repairing if something, your shoes, something has happened, go to the cobbler, be part of the repair economy so you can add
Mhm.
more uses to your current products.
Mm.
Think about supporting a local tailor and making something that is tailor made
Yeah.
exactly for your
Yeah.
body, which is
Mm.
much lower carbon footprint. Because as the distance between producing the clothes and your where we use it has increased, the transparency is also reduced and has contributed to a lot of carbon footprint, but also social and environmental issues. Recycle, segregate your waste as much as possible. Paper, glass, dry materials, dry waste, high density plastic, cardboard, and wet waste, which is all of your kitchen supplies, kitchen waste.
Mm.
Compost your organic waste. You are reducing the burden onto landfills.
Mm.
We're reducing just your own waste by 60%. That's like an average Indian stat, by the way.
Mm.
Um, you know, Choosing wisely. So when you do need to shop, picking material that have more sustainable packaging is important. Advocacy, you can advocate in your own apartment, your own
Mhm.
office, um, or online, or all of them. Write to companies if you want them to change their packaging. Write to your elected representative if you want some sustainability initiatives in place. And if you do all of that, you won't even know it, but inadvertently you'll be inspiring so many people around you, whether that's your family, your friends, your colleagues, to try and have a positive impact on this planet.
Yeah, and the basic idea is to consume less or consume less often and reduce. I mean, recycle as far as possible.
Absolutely, rightly
Yeah.
said.
Okay, Seher, thanks a lot for being a part of this important topic in this podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, just thank you so much for having me and thinking of me. I've had a blast speaking to you, and yeah, I just really hope we can continue to amplify our impacts collectively.
Yes, yes. And we would get back with you maybe on another episode and explore other things also, because there are so many things and it's so multidimensional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Would you like to share any contact information?
Yeah, my website is barenecessities.in, and our learning platform can be linked via there, or it's Bare Learning.
Mhm.
And our Instagram is Bare Necessities Zero Waste India. And I'm Sahar Mansoor on LinkedIn and Instagram as well.
Okay, okay, Sahar. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you so much again.
Bye bye.
Bye.
So that was an interview with Sahar Mansoor, the writer of the book Bare Necessities: How to Live a Zero Waste Life. Well, listeners, we would like to hear about your zero waste journey if you have one. You can share tips on how to reuse material at home or how to reduce waste in our lives. We would share them with the listeners. You can send us a recorded message on Spotify or at our email address, which is given in the show description. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening in. This is Ranjit Monga signing off. Until next time, goodbye and take care.